Good day. In this video, we're going to show you how to convert a fraction to an equivalent fraction out of 100, then convert that to a decimal, and then to convert that to percentage. To convert 3/10 to an equivalent fraction out of 100, you ask, what do I times this 10 to get to this 100 in the denominator? That is times 10, and what you do at the bottom, you must do at the top. Then you times the 3 with 10, and then 3 over 10 is the same as 30 over 100. 30 hundredths, you write as a decimal, as 0.30. You can also write it as 0.3, but we're not going to do that in this video. Then 30 over 100, you should know is 30%, but you can also convert 0.30 to 30%. Please get your brain around that. 30 over 100 is well known, but also learn that 0.30 is another way of writing 30%. Next we have 4/5. For the purpose of this video, they asked us to convert it to an equivalent fraction out of 100. Then you ask, what do I times 5 by to get to 100? That's 5 times 20. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 4 times 20 gives you 80 over 100. As a decimal, we can write it as 0.80. That can be written as 80%. Get your brain around that. Like I said, the 80 over 100 we are used to get it to 80%, but also know that 0.80 is also 80%. Remember, you should be able to work backwards. They might give you 80% and ask you to convert it to a decimal. They can also give you an 80% and say convert it to a fraction in its simplest form. Then you write it as 80 over 100. Divide by 20 at the top and the bottom and get back to your 4/5. But for the rest of this video, we'll be going from the common fraction to the equivalent fraction out of 100 to a decimal to percentage. Please stop the video and get your brain around that. Next we have 9 over 25. We first take it to hundredths. To get 25 to 100, you times by 4. You times by 4 at the top also. And 9 times 4 is 36 over 100. As a decimal, it will be 0.36. And 0.36 can be written as 36%. Remember, 36 over 100 is 36%. Next we want to convert a half to an equivalent fraction out of 100, then to a decimal, and then to a percentage. To get the 2 to 100, you'll times by 50. You also times by 50 at the top. So a half is the same as 50 over 100. As a decimal, we can write it as 0.50 or 0.5. And as a percentage, we can write it as 50%. Remember, 50 over 100 is the same as 50%, but learn that 0.50 is also 50%. Next, we convert 17 over 20, first to hundredths. To get a denominator of 20 to a denominator of 100, you times by 5 at the bottom and at the top. 17 times 5 is 85. So 85 over 100 is the same as 17 over 20. As a decimal, it's 0.85. And as a percentage, it's 85%. So remember, 17 over 20, although it looks totally different, is 85 over 100, is 0.85, is 85%. Stop the video and get your brain around these three. Let's convert the 3/4 to an equivalent fraction out of 100, then to a decimal, and then to a percentage. To get from quarters to hundredths, you times by 25. What you do at the bottom, you do at the top. 3 times 25 is 75 over 100 is the same as 3/4. As a decimal, it will become 0.75, and as a percentage, 75%. Remember what I said in your life? You must be able to take the 75% back to a decimal, and sometimes take a 75% to a fraction in its simplest form. Then you go from 75% to 75 over 100. Divide by 25 at the top and the bottom and get 3/4. You must be able to convert from a common fraction to a decimal to a percentage and backwards. Next we convert 3/50. You times by 2 to get from 50 to 100. You times by 2 at the top. 3 times 2 is then 6 over 100. As a decimal, it will look like this, 0.06. and that is 6%. Next we take 17 over 10 times by 10 at the top and the bottom to get the bottom to become 100. Don't get it right, it's 170 over 100. As a decimal, you will then write it as 1,70 or simplified 1,7. And as a percentage, it's 170%. Remember, this number at the top is bigger than the bottom one, so we have more than 100% at the end. Please stop the video and look at these 3 examples. Let's show you a few more difficult ones. If you don't understand them, just let it go, and later in your life you'll run into them. Now, you can't easily multiply 8 with something to get to 100. A possible way to go is to times the 8 by 125 to get it to thousandths. You also times the top by 125. That is 375 over 1,000. You can divide the 1,000 by 10 to get to 100. If you divide the 375 by 10, you're going to get 37,5. If you don't understand this, just leave it. From 375 over 1,000, I know it's going to be 0,375. And that'll be 37,5%, 37.5%. The next one, if they give me 1 and they ask me to convert it to a fraction out of 100, change the 1 into a fraction as 1 over 1 times the bottom with 100 and also times the top with 100. That gives me 100 over 100, and that is 1,00, which is 100%. The last one might be new to you, but in time you'll get used to it. If they give me a third and I want to take it to hundredths, you can times 3 with 33 and a third to get to 100. If you take 100, you divide it into 3 equal parts, you'll get 33 and a third. Take some getting used to. If you times 1 with 33 and a third, you get 33 and a third over 100. Writing that as a decimal takes some getting used to. You can write it as 0,3 recurring or 0,333 with 3 little dots there. That means it goes on forever. And then also as a percentage, you can write it as 33.3 recurring percent or 33 and a third percent, which is what we're going to use more often. Please stop the video and get your brain around these 3. Please indicate whether you liked or disliked the video and subscribe to the channel. If you do run into any conversions between common fractions, decimals, and percentages that gives you trouble, you may send a clear picture to this number. Then we'll try and solve the problem and send back an answer to you as soon as possible. Enjoy conversions.